Tristan da Cunha. Tristan da Cunha sits 1,500 miles from the nearest populated land in the middle of the South Atlantic Ocean. The island has no airport, no harbor, and no tourist infrastructure. The only way to reach it is by boat from Cape Town, South Africa, a journey that takes between 5 and 10 days depending on weather conditions. Ships can only approach the island a few times per year, when seas are calm enough for passengers to transfer to small boats. Many scheduled visits are canceled due to rough weather. When storms hit, the island's 250 residents are completely cut off from the outside world for months at a time. The entire population shares just 7 family names, all descended from the original settlers who arrived in the 1800s. Everyone on the island is related to everyone else. There are no hotels, restaurants, or shops. The community operates on a system of shared labor, where residents take turns working the island's potato farm, tending livestock, and maintaining the settlement. People stay because leaving means abandoning their entire extended family and a way of life that has existed for generations. The island has no unemployment, no crime, and no money changes hands for basic necessities. Residents grow their own food, build their own houses, and take care of each other's children. Many who have left for education or work eventually return because they cannot adapt to life in the outside world. Pitcairn Island. Pitcairn Island has a population of just 35 people spread across 2 square miles of volcanic rock in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The island has no airport, no proper harbor, and no regular shipping service. Supply ships arrive 3 or 4 times per year, weather permitting. Passengers must climb down rope ladders into small boats that navigate through dangerous surf to reach the rocky shore. The island's isolation is so complete that it takes weeks to organize medical evacuations. Residents communicate with the outside world through a single satellite internet connection. Mail delivery is so irregular that letters can take months to arrive. Nearly every resident is a direct descendant of the HMS Bounty mutineers who settled the island in 1790 after rebelling against Captain Bligh. The same family names, Christian, Young, Warren, and McGee, have dominated the island for over 200 years. Most residents can trace their lineage back to Fletcher Christian, the mutiny's leader. The descendants have created a unique culture that blends 18th century British customs with Polynesian traditions. They speak Pitcairn, a language that combines English with Tahitian words. The island operates as a direct democracy, where every adult votes on community decisions. There are no police, no military, and no prisons. Many residents refuse to leave because Pitcairn represents their entire family history and identity. The island holds the graves of their ancestors and the remains of the bounty itself. Those who have moved to New Zealand or Australia often struggle with modern life and feel disconnected from their heritage. La Rinconada, Peru. La Rinconada perches on a mountainside 16,700 feet above sea level in the Peruvian Andes, higher than most airplane cruising altitudes. The air contains 40% less oxygen than at sea level, making every breath a struggle. New arrivals suffer from altitude sickness, headaches, and nausea for weeks until their bodies adapt. Over 50,000 people live in this ramshackle settlement of tin-roofed shacks and dirt roads. There is no running water, no sewage system, and no municipal garbage collection. Human waste flows down the mountainside in open channels. The town exists in a legal gray area with no official government services, no police force, and no hospitals. Everyone in La Rinconada works in the gold mines that honeycomb the mountain. Miners work under a traditional system called cachorreo. They labor for 30 days without pay, then on the 31st day, they can keep whatever gold they find. Most miners earn less than $200 per month, but the possibility of striking a rich vein keeps them digging. The gold mining releases mercury into the environment, poisoning the water supply and causing neurological damage. Children are born with developmental disabilities. The extreme altitude causes heart problems and brain swelling. Average life expectancy is significantly lower than in the rest of Peru. People stay because they have no other options. Most miners are indigenous people from impoverished rural areas who lack education or job skills. They arrive with dreams of finding enough gold to change their lives, but become trapped by debt, altitude adaptation, and the gambling addiction of mining. Leaving means admitting failure and returning to poverty with nothing to show for years of dangerous work. Oymyakon, Russia. Oymyakon holds the record as the coldest permanently inhabited place on Earth. The temperature once dropped to minus 96.16 degrees Fahrenheit, cold enough to freeze human saliva before it hits the ground. During winter, the sun rises for only 3 hours per day, leaving the village in near constant darkness for months. The 500 residents live in a landscape where the ground is permanently frozen down to 4,900 feet. Cars must run continuously during winter because engines will freeze solid if turned off. Residents heat their homes with coal and wood, creating a permanent haze of smoke that hangs over the village. People wear multiple layers of fur and down clothing just to survive brief trips outside. Daily life requires extreme adaptations. Residents cannot wear glasses outdoors because they freeze to the skin. begin. They must warm their cars for hours before driving. Plumbing doesn't work, so people use outhouses and haul water from heated wells. Food must be kept in heated storage because refrigerators would freeze solid. The village exists because the Soviet government established it as a permanent settlement for indigenous reindeer herders in the 1930s. The Saka and Even peoples had traditionally lived nomadically, following reindeer herds across the tundra. The Soviets forced them to settle in one location and abandon their traditional lifestyle. Many residents stay because they have adapted to the extreme conditions over generations and cannot imagine living anywhere else. The cold has become part of their identity. They take pride in their ability to survive where others would die. Those who have moved to warmer climates often return because they feel disconnected from their community and culture. Supai Village, Arizona. Supai Village sits 3,000 feet below the rim of the Grand Canyon, accessible only by an 8-mile hiking trail, mule train, or helicopter. There are no roads leading to the village. All supplies, food, mail, construction materials, and medical equipment must be carried down the canyon walls by pack mules or flown in by helicopter at enormous expense. The village has no cars, no delivery trucks, and no emergency vehicle access. When medical emergencies occur, patients must be evacuated by helicopter or carried up the trail on stretchers. The nearest hospital is 5 hours away by foot and vehicle. Internet service is limited and cell phone coverage is spotty. Supai is home to the Havasupai tribe, whose name means people of the blue-green water. The tribe has lived in this remote canyon for over 1,000 years, long before the Grand Canyon became a national park. Only about 200 tribal members live in the village year-round, making it one of the most isolated communities in the United States. The village exists around a series of stunning turquoise waterfalls created by mineral-rich springs. These waterfalls, Havasu Falls, Mooney Falls, and Beaver Falls, are considered sacred by the Havasupai people. The springs provide the only reliable water source for hundreds of miles in this desert environment. Tribal members stay because the canyon represents their ancestral homeland and spiritual center. They believe their ancestors' spirits dwell in the waterfalls and rock formations. The isolation has allowed them to preserve their language, traditions, and connection to the land. Many who have left for education or work return because they cannot find the same sense of belonging in the outside world. Ittoqqortoormiit, Greenland. Ittoqqortoormiit sits on the eastern coast of Greenland, 500 miles from the nearest town. The village is surrounded by the largest national park in the world, a frozen wilderness larger than France and Spain combined. Sea ice blocks access to the settlement for most of the year, making it reachable by boat only during a brief summer window from July to September. The 345 residents live in brightly colored wooden houses built on stilts above the permafrost. Winter temperatures drop to minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and the sun disappears completely for 4 months. The village has no roads connecting it to anywhere else on Earth. Supplies arrive once or twice per year by cargo ship, weather permitting. The entire economy depends on hunting seals, polar bears, walruses, and whales, using traditional methods passed down through generations. Residents travel across the ice by dog sled, following the same routes their ancestors used for thousands of years. They hunt with harpoons and rifles, sharing meat according to ancient customs. The village was established in 1925 when the Danish government relocated Inuit families from western Greenland to establish a permanent settlement. The families were chosen specifically for their traditional hunting skills and knowledge of ice conditions. Today, their descendants continue this lifestyle in one of the most remote places on Earth. People stay because the isolation has preserved their traditional Inuit culture in ways impossible elsewhere. They speak East Greenlandic, hunt traditional foods, and maintain social structures that have nearly disappeared in more accessible Arctic communities. The harsh environment requires cooperation and traditional knowledge that gives residents a deep sense of purpose and identity. Medog County, Tibet. Medog County was the last county in China without road access until 2013. The region sits in a remote corner of Tibet where the Himalayas meet the Tibetan Plateau, creating some of the most treacherous terrain on Earth. The single road that now connects Medog to the outside world is frequently destroyed by landslides, avalanches, and monsoon rains, cutting off the 12,000 residents for months at a time. The county spans dramatic elevation changes, from 1,000 feet to over 23,000 feet, creating microclimates that range from subtropical jungle to Arctic tundra within a few miles. Residents must cross glaciers, navigate through dense forests, and traverse mountain passes, where temperatures can drop 60 degrees in hours. The terrain is so unstable that the road requires constant reconstruction. Most residents are Tibetan Buddhists, who consider Medog a sacred Bayul, a hidden valley blessed by Guru Rinpoche, the founder of Tibetan Buddhism. According to religious texts, Bayuls are spiritual refuges where practitioners can attain enlightenment and where the Dharma will be preserved during times of darkness. Medog is believed to be one of the most powerful Bayuls in the Himalayan region. The county contains ancient monasteries, sacred lakes, and pilgrimage sites that have been visited by devout Buddhists for over 1,000 years. Many residents are monks, nuns, or laypeople who have dedicated their lives to religious practice. The isolation has preserved religious traditions and meditation practices that have have been disrupted elsewhere by modernization. People stay because leaving would mean abandoning their spiritual practice and connection to sacred land. Many believe that residing in a bayul provides protection from negative karma and accelerates spiritual development. The physical hardships of living in such isolation are seen as purification practices that bring them closer to enlightenment. North Sentinel Island, India. North Sentinel Island sits in the middle of the Bay of Bengal, surrounded by coral reefs that make approaching by boat nearly impossible. The island is home to one of the last uncontacted tribes on Earth, the Sentinelese people, who have lived in complete isolation for over 60,000 years. They have violently rejected every attempt at outside contact, making their island one of the most dangerous places for outsiders to visit. The Indian government has declared the island strictly off-limits and maintains a 3-mile exclusion zone around it. Indian Navy patrols constantly monitor the waters to prevent anyone from getting too close. Violating this boundary is punishable by imprisonment, but the real deterrent is the tribe itself. They kill anyone who tries to land on their shores. The Sentinelese attack outsiders with bows and arrows, spears and stones the moment they spot approaching boats. In 2006, 2 fishermen whose boat drifted too close to the island were killed instantly when they tried to come ashore. In 2018, an American missionary named John Allen Chow illegally hired fishermen to take him to the island. The tribe shot him with arrows as soon as he stepped onto the beach. His body was never recovered. The tribe has maintained their Stone Age lifestyle without any influence from the modern world. They live in small huts, hunt with handmade weapons, and have never developed agriculture or metalworking. Anthropologists estimate the population at between 50 and 400 people, but no accurate count exists because no outsider has ever survived extended contact. The Sentinelese stay isolated by choice and violence because they view all outsiders as deadly threats. Historical contact with other Andaman Island tribes brought devastating diseases that wiped out entire populations. The Sentinelese learned that contact with the outside world means death, so they've developed a culture of absolute hostility towards strangers. Their isolation has become their survival strategy. They kill to remain alive and unchanged in a world that would destroy them. Centralia, Pennsylvania. Centralia sits on top of an underground coal fire that has been burning continuously since 1962. The fire started in a garbage dump and spread into the abandoned coal mines beneath the town, creating a network of underground flames that cannot be extinguished. The fire burns at temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit and releases toxic gases through cracks in the ground. The government evacuated the entire town in the 1980s, relocating over 1,000 residents and demolishing most buildings. Today, only about 10 people refuse to leave despite constant danger. Deadly carbon monoxide seeps through basement floors. The ground can collapse without warning as the fire burns away underground support structures. Steam and smoke rise from fissures in roads and yards. Walking through Centralia feels apocalyptic. Highway 61 is cracked and buckled from underground heat. Graffiti covers the broken asphalt where visitors have turned the abandoned road into an outdoor art gallery. Trees are dead or dying from root damage caused by extreme ground temperatures. The few remaining houses sit isolated among empty lots where neighbors' homes once stood. The fire is expected to burn for another 250 years. It has already consumed over 3,700 acres underground and continues spreading in unpredictable directions. The government spent millions trying to contain it before giving up and declaring the town uninhabitable. The remaining residents stay because they refuse to abandon their family homes and the graves of their ancestors. They've lived with the danger so long that the underground fire has become normal. Many are elderly and would rather die in their childhood homes than start over elsewhere. They've created a defiant community of survivors who take pride in outlasting both the fire and the government's evacuation orders. Miyakejima, Japan. Miyakejima is an active volcanic island where deadly hydrogen sulfide gas regularly spews from the ground without warning. The gas is so toxic that exposure causes immediate respiratory failure and death within minutes. Every resident is required by law to carry a gas mask at all times and must put it on the moment evacuation sirens sound across the island. The volcano erupted in 2000, forcing a complete evacuation of all 3,600 residents. When the government declared it safe to return 5 years later, they warned that gas emissions would continue indefinitely. Residents who chose to come back signed legal waivers acknowledging they could die from poison gas exposure at any moment. Daily life revolves around the constant threat of toxic gas. Children walk to school with gas masks in their backpacks. Workers in the fields carry portable gas detectors that beep when hydrogen sulfide levels spike. Emergency sirens are tested weekly, and when they sound, everyone has minutes to get their masks on or risk suffocation. The gas comes from underground volcanic activity that cannot be predicted or controlled. It can emerge from sidewalk cracks, garden soil, or basement floors. Some areas of the island are permanently off limits because gas concentrations are too high for even gas masks to protect against. People stay because Miyakejima has been their family home for generations, and they refuse to let a volcano drive them away permanently. Many residents say the constant danger has made their community stronger and more connected. They've adapted their entire culture around living with the possibility of death from breathing the air, turning survival into a point of pride that defines their identity as islanders.